Good morning. Looks like it's around 10:30 on Pacific Coast time, which I call PTSD time. Um, let's just go through the process. I'm Steve. Go through the process of introduction, and um, and then um, I would suggest you state these words out loud because this is the way that my other dimensional teachers instructed me, was intuitively, um, through some sort of telepathic communication into my inner hearing, oftentimes through courses over the last 14 plus years. Courses, night school classes on healing and consciousness, hence the title of my YouTube channel, Interest in Healing and Consciousness. So because of my interest in it, I ended up in the school, uh, two different schools, um, so kind of two doctoral programs. Um, anyway, I won't go into detail about that, but it was very interesting. I learned a lot, and a lot of what I teach has to do with what came out of what I learned in those courses and what I've learned from living on a planet that's always appeared to me to be highly dysfunctional. But that may have just been me projecting my own stuff onto the world. And if that's what created this world that appeared dysfunctional, then you could just blame me for it, or you could blame yourself for creating me to create. We could just get into it, do a lot of funny things with it, which we have all done. You made me do that. It's like, oh, okay. So, all of that to say these simple words. I connect to my deep self. I don't know what it is about my lips right now, but they're calling my attention. I connect to my deep self. I open to my higher self. I open to my highest self. I ground myself to the healing center of the earth. I open myself to the healing power of the One. Anything that's no longer useful to me, I let go from my world now. And if you choose to have help from the seventh dimensional beings, the Hathors, you can state that you choose to work with the Hathors. And they'll just assist you in the changes you're going through. Well, I look outside and I see that it's snowing. Always interesting when you live on semi-tropical island, an arid island, to see it snowing. Okay, we're just going to, if you wish to, most everything that I do is a healing session. So, like, if you don't want to be healing, you don't want to be here. Because that's my interest, is healing through conscious awareness of what healing is and then participating in it. So one of the things I've done for the last 5 years, kind of as my service work, my service to the world, I was asked at the end of January in 2020 if I would be willing to set up a world healing field which was basically you imagine the earth and then you just imagine a field of healing encompassing the earth in all directions. And it seemed a bit much to me that I, first of all, that I could imagine it and then I could actually do it, whatever doing it meant. But anyway, I was convinced by these voices in my head that this was important. And the reason for setting up the healing field was that I was going to be grounding the world's disturbance. Talk about fun. I mean, if you've ever just been around another person, one person that was disturbed, and you kind of held some space for them as you continued to possibly feel more and more disturbed, you'll understand what that might have been like if you just multiplied that times 8 billion human beings. Supposedly there's 8 billion of us on the planet, plus or minus a billion. At that point, what difference does it make? Oh, we're going to have a further debt of $1 trillion. Like, what is a billion? And somebody can write this in the comments section. What is $1 billion? Is it 100,000 million is a billion? Or a million is a billion? And then a billion is a trillion? Or, I just don't know. I could look it up, but it's better for me to just scramble my brain by thinking about what's $1 million. So I think when you get to 999,000, the next 1,000 that you throw in there takes you over the 999,000 mark, takes you over to 1 million. So maybe when you get to 999,999,000, and you add 1,000 to that, it takes you over that mark and you get to 1 billion. So maybe 1 billion is 1,000 over 999,999,000. Just to mind, and then billion, then trillion. Oh, and we're currently in debt a certain number of trillions of dollars. What does that even mean? And who are we in debt to? I mean, you could say the banks. And you could say, yeah, but the banks are making the money up. And they're probably making a whole lot more by having countries indebted to them. So countries have borrowed money for wars or whatever, countries were doing, parties, buying little islands for little weekend gatherings. We're just going to bring it right back to center again. Just that trillion, just let it just fly away like a trillion ducks. There's two things that have affected me powerfully over the last 2 days. Yesterday's was one of Thomas Hubel. He gave a talk which was introducing people to a class that he's going to do about learning to regulate your nerve system, learning to come out of fight or flight into a calm, present state of relation. That was one. Powerful, super powerful. If I can, I might link it in the description. I've never done it before, so who knows if I'll be able to figure that out. Although my IT person is coming back this Saturday. So that could be helpful. The other thing that I watched, so Thomas Hubel, it's Hubl, is my current mystic trauma therapist teacher who's helping me to go deeper into my own stuff. Not searching it out, noticing what's rising to the surface as a result, from my perspective, of this 28-year cycle of cleansing that completes in less than 2 months. 40, 47, 48 days, something like that. This 28-year cycle is complete. I don't know what it means. I just know that the last number of years have been pretty intense for me personally and don't seem to be lightening up. So let's go ahead and connect to the healing field so some of you can get out of here. Those of you that haven't gotten out of here already can get out of here, because all you wanted to do was connect to the healing field and heal some aspect of yourself, and I totally get that consciousness. So let's just state that we connect to the today's healing field. And you can do this every day. You can just say, I connect to today's healing field, because every day I set up a healing field. So if you just think, I connect to that healing field, and then you can ask the question, if it would be in my highest good to go back to the event to help to release and integrate the energy of the event, then you can do so. So for right now, you just have in your consciousness, I connect to today's healing field. And we ask to be placed in a field of protection while we do this work. We ask that ourselves plus all the souls that would benefit from returning to this event, I ask the higher self to invite all souls back to this event to release and integrate the energy of the event for themselves. And I ask that we all be placed in a field of protection while we do this work. And upon arrival at this event, I ask the higher self to assist us to release and integrate all energies of the event gently and easily, fully and completely, on all levels and through all space and time. Okay, the field is set up, it's working. If you want to hit the pause button and you have things you need to go do, you go ahead and go do those, because you really want to be doing the things that you need to be doing, whatever those are. I'm trying to figure it out on a daily basis. For the earlier field that I set up today, which I hadn't closed yet, and I'm going to close now. So I set up a healing field about 5 or 6 o'clock this morning. I asked the higher self to assist all the souls that return to that event to combine with that part of their soul that had remained at the event, and bring that combined soul back into the body in present time with all of its wisdom, power, clarity, compassion, curiosity, kindness, creativity, all in peace and love. I would ask all those souls to ground themselves in peace and love into the healing center of the earth, and open up the portal for the delivery of the new energies into the earth at this time. And I would ask that these new energies be brought into the earth now. And I would ask that they be activated. And I'd let the universe and beyond know that this has been done and that it's good. Okay, I'm going to just do a little bit of a description of the World Healing Field that was set up at the end of January of 2020. And this is the field in which we're all working. This is what I was told. Whether or not it's true, I trust those that told me, so I'm just speaking about it as true in how I imagine it. So it surrounds the earth. So everything that goes on in the earth is within this healing field. All the healing you do is within this healing field. And then within this healing field, there are healing fields that are set up for particular days. Like today, they might be related to a Mayan calendar reading. They might be related to tarot cards that were picked that day. There may be 3 healing fields that are set up within the larger healing field, one of which you find yourself drawn to, and you do healing work within that, with that world healing field. And this has been going on for a little over 5 years. And yeah, my interest is healing, healing and consciousness. Those are my main interests from this lifetime. And what volume, how to do the microphone thing. I'm not what I would call myself a technically savvy person. So that field that I just completed, not the one I just set up a few minutes ago that's still ongoing, the field that I completed was from 5 o'clock this morning. And that field was set up when I woke up 3 something in the morning, working with the panic of the world. And I will really appreciate the day that I wake up in a state of loving kindness while feeling panic. Because I felt like I had resolved panic in 2011. I did all this stuff, all the psychological, physical, energetic. I did all this stuff 2011 to clear panic, and I resolved the 60 years of panic that had run my life. I resolved it in 2011. And so for most of the next 14 years up to now, and 2011 was also when I think night school started. So that's interesting. And for most of the next 14 years up till now, I worked with fear, panic, anxiety in healing sessions, but not necessarily so much in my own life. I might get panicky about not knowing how to do something and having to do it, but I wasn't run by panic. So the preceding 60 years, panic was what motivated me forward. In 2011, I began to move forward based on a feeling of connection to some divine highway system or some divine river of consciousness that I was basically a part of and I was moving through. I was getting a lot of training in the night school about how to function in this world not motivated by fear and not motivated by what I could get by being motivated, but being motivated by being present and continuing to heal within myself and continuing to assist others to heal. That was my motivation for the past 14 years, pretty much. And then I'm going to say 4 months ago, but it may have been 20 months ago. So let's say it was May 2023 that I began feeling this pressure to change. And I began doing detoxing baths. I began using primarily Epsom salts in a hot bath to cleanse my system, and boy, did it work. And it has continued to work for 20 months now. So lots of toxins have come out. Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual toxins have been clearing. But the last few months have been probably the most feeling of challenge that I've had in terms of dealing with the energies of the world healing field. So I've talked about it, and I don't want to belabor the point. And even though there are a lot more people, since I started this YouTube channel a year ago, there are a lot more people who are assisting with releasing and integrating the disturbed energy of the planet and the people on it. Even though there's many more people working with that, and there's many more groups working with that, and there's many meditation groups who are meditating on world peace and, loving kindness and all these different things, I think just the vibration just keeps going up and our stuff keeps coming out. And as a collective group, we're just healing kind of the trauma of the whole, the trauma of the collective. And when I do healing work and emotions come to the surface, the emotions typically are grief and loss, anger, irritation, fight or flight, freeze. So those are the big three: fear, grief, anger. Those are the big three. And those have been just amping in the world healing field. And even if we just take it down, so I'm going to teach you a little lesson here. I'm going to teach you a lesson. I heard that said a number of times in my childhood. Let that teach you a lesson. Jumping off a roof, thinking you could fly. Let that teach you a lesson. And it did. So it was good advice. Let it teach you a lesson. So let me teach you a lesson. There's something you can do. So our words are powerful. That's why it's called spelling. Use of words. Spelling, how they're spelled. So here's a spell that was possibly put on you without you ever knowing it. The spell of thought forms. So I'm not going to get into religious, political, societal, ethnic, cultural, blah, blah, blah. All of them are basically thought forms, belief systems, beliefs that if you want to be part of this group, you have to share their beliefs. Those beliefs or thought forms or matrices, but let's just call them thought forms, affect us when we're connected to them. So one of the things that we can do is we can disconnect from the big three. You could do other ones later, but let's just start with the big three. And how we do this is we say, I disconnect from the matrix or thought form of fear surrounding the planet, and just disconnect from it. It's a thought form. You don't have to stay in it. Okay, so we did fear. Yeah, you may need to give you a minute or so to recalibrate, like, whoa, this is a different world I'm in now. Exactly. That the world outside of those thought forms is very different. Getting out of those thought forms is a good idea. Let that be a lesson to you. Okay, the next one is, I disconnect from the matrix or thought form of anger surrounding the planet. And notice when you feel it, when you feel yourself disconnect from it. Like you basically dissolve the thought form for yourself, which has an impact on the whole place. So we did fear, we did anger. Last one is grief, and I'll tell you maybe a story later about the amount of grief that I disconnected from earlier. So I disconnect from the matrix or thought form of grief surrounding the planet. And just notice when you feel yourself dissolve that thought form for yourself. And take a minute or two or the rest of your life to just feel the difference of being disconnected from the matrix or thought form of fear, anger, and grief surrounding the planet. It doesn't mean that you might not be carrying some fear, anger, or grief from unresolved events within yourself. And there may also be some fear, anger, grief from unresolved events within the collective. And those will be released and integrated, which is different than being in a constant state of fear, anger, or grief based on thought forms of the collective. The thought forms of the collective are different from the traumas of the collective. The traumas of the collective are things that actually happen that need to be finished, released and integrated, resolved. The energies let go of. This letting go of the energies of the thought forms is good practice in letting go of the energies of the overwhelming events or traumas of you individually or of the collective, such that you're releasing both when you connect to a healing field. So it's an individual work you're doing on a soul level, that you're releasing and integrating the energy of that event that affected you, maybe in another lifetime, maybe in this lifetime, maybe in an ancestral lifetime, but it affected you, and you're releasing it for yourself on a soul level. And then there is the effect that has on the collective. So you're doing collective healing work as well every time you connect one of the world healing fields. That feels like enough information. So we're going to, when you feel ready to do this, so if you don't feel like you've completed your healing work related to this event, then hit the pause button and hit play again when you feel like you're complete. This is just the last part of this healing field for today. I ask the higher self and our soul ray group to assist all the souls that have returned to this event to combine with that part of their soul that had remained at the event and bring that combined soul back into their body with all of its wisdom, power, and clarity, compassion, creativity, and kindness. I ask the combined soul to ground itself into the healing center of the earth in peace, and to open up the portal as a collective group, to open up the portal for the delivery of the new energies that we agreed to bring in at this time. And I ask that those energies be brought in now. And I ask that they be activated. And I let the universe and beyond know that this has been done and that it's good. Okay, I think that will be it for this video, and may it serve you well, and may it progressively make it easier to release and integrate the energies of unresolved events until all the events of all the worlds, of all the conscious beings are resolved. And just do your best to not have it seem like a burden to you to do it. And I'll do my best not to have it seem like a burden, because it is what I want. I want healing. I want healing on all levels, in all realities, for all creatures, brave and small. Okay. Love.